My wife and I had just moved to Corpus Christi, Texas in 2009 from the frigid cold in Slayton, Minnesota. I had just completed writing my novel, The Officer's Journey, and I felt we needed a change of venue. We'd been married 8 years and had 2 therapy dogs, Molly and Lucy, with us. We had just rented an apartment on the southern end of the city and moved in to what we thought was going to be a wonderful place to live in. To give you an idea of how it was set up, there was a couple of flight of stairs that led up to the bedroom and the main bathroom. The downstairs was more like a separate studio, with another bathroom and sliding doors that led to a small patio outside. It was the 3rd month of our getting acclimated with our new place, when small yet very strange things started to occur. Molly and Lucy started not coming upstairs to go to sleep with us, and they started crying when we were turning in for the night. We had known that they had separation anxiety, but they didn't act like this when we first moved in. Because we consider them our 4-legged kids, we brought our bed downstairs so all of us could be together. We had tried numerous times to have them do their business in the back patio grass area, but they wouldn't have any of it, rather facing our scolding than going out there. 4 more months passed without any problems, until more strange things started to happen. My wife, who was into some of the paranormal shows on cable TV, she had purchased a spirit pendulum and had been using it, trying to communicate and see for herself if there was life after death. She got more than she bargained for though, when it was placed in the middle of a kitchen counter, away from any edges, and it flew straight off the counter, without any aid whatsoever, falling onto the floor. Wanda and I, we just looked at each other in shock and disbelief. She didn't say anything, and honestly, I was looking for any kind of practical explanation, but I came up empty. We tried to put it out of our minds and thought of it as maybe some sort of a trick or something that came with the board. 2 weeks pass and our neighbours, who live in an adjacent apartment, they asked us if we were taking our dogs outside. I said that I was, and I asked him why he asked that question. He replied that he and his girlfriend at the time smelt dog urine inside the air conditioning vents. I reassured him that it wasn't my dogs and I would, as precaution, wipe down all our vents in case it did smell. Another month passed and it was a really hot and humid night in October. We'd been watching television for most of the night when my wife, she went to shut off the lights to get some sleep. She went by the light switch that was near our front door when her eyes bulged out in terror. She didn't speak and she was backing away from the door. I got up in an instant and I tried to move her away from the door and settle her down, thinking she might have been having a panic attack or worse. When I grabbed her arms, all I could feel was intense cold, like my hands were being thrust into dry ice or something. Her skin showed extreme goosebumps that made her arms look almost prickly. She couldn't speak or move. What the hell was going on? By this time, she'd moved herself back into a corner, and I tried to get her out of the corner. I'm a pretty strong guy and should have been able to do this easily, but it felt like she was being forced into the corner with godlike strength. I got angry at this stage. My adrenaline was pumping through me with my rage. But even with that, she didn't move. She was freaking out and she had tears bursting from her eyes, and me being helpless, I couldn't do anything about it. So, in the spur of the moment, I did the only thing I could think of. I held her as close as I possibly could, and I started praying to God, Jesus, and every saint I could possibly think of to get whatever or whoever it was off of my wife. After about a minute, whatever it was, it relented. She collapsed into my arms and I helped her into bed. I got a bottle of water for her and had the dogs lay on each side of her. I like to think that I have an open mind. And having said that, I remember watching one of Wanda's shows where some of the paranormal investigators did something called debunking, or finding out a practical reason for what just happened. After checking and rechecking everything in the corner, the light switch, outside influences, and everything else I could possibly think of, I came up with squat as to why this happened to her. She was tired, but perfectly fine before this weird occurrence. 2 days later, I can't say I heard this happening because I was working on my computer downstairs, but if my wife, Wanda, said this happened, I have no reservations that it actually did. She had decided to take a bath during the day to help her relax from a doctor's appointment she had earlier. She was in the tub when she heard a low, male, groaning voice actually say,
"I am 666.
After this happened, what I did see was Lucy, one of our dogs, bolt up the stairs, and then I hear a large splash in the tub. Wanda had yelled to me that Lucy had jumped right into the tub with her and that she wouldn't leave at all. Right then and there, I knew that something supernatural was taking a big interest in intimidating or wanting to cause harm to my family. By this time, I was getting really pissed. This was my family, and I was going to protect them. Moving into the next month, it was going to be one of those warm years in Corpus Christi where you could wear shorts and a t-shirt in the middle of what was the winter season. We went to Corpus Christi Beach for some relaxation. That was where we picked up our youngest member of our family. Her name is Lily. She's not as big as the other two dogs, but she makes up for it in spirit. She's been playing around with the other dogs and doing what puppies usually do. 2 days later, worms had gotten into her belly and she started throwing up. A visit to the vet confirmed our worst fears. Lily had contracted parvo, and the chances of her living were 1 in 3. The best thing to do, we were told, is to give her lots of fluids, and if she made it through the ordeal, to bring her in for her immunization shots. After 2 days and nights, we brought her in for her shots. My family, we won the battle, but it was far from over. A week after her brush with death, I began my own investigation as to the history of the apartment. The internet searches, they came up empty, as well as my inquiry with the landlords, who looked at me with a feared look of a dark secret in their past being revealed, and answered me in quick, unintelligible Spanish sentences. Somehow, I knew we had to leave, or risk our family being torn apart. We started saving what we could, and we also packed away what we didn't use that month. We immediately began searching for a new home, minus any supernatural beings. We eventually came upon a place, and we waited for our last earnings to come in before we left. On a mild night in November, we were all fast asleep in bed, when Wanda was awoken by the sound of furniture being hurled and a woman's scream coming from upstairs. She woke me up and we slowly went up the stairs. Obviously, there was no one else in our place, as I made sure all the doors and windows were securely locked. We looked around the room, but we found nothing to be out of place. I looked outside the window to find the city streets, they were void of any activity. This was strange. We started heading back downstairs before we heard a loud bang and a gunshot that sounded like it came from the room. At this stage, for me, all reason ran straight into the hills as I looked for something, anything that I could find to explain it. But there was nothing. I couldn't find a damn thing to explain what we had just experienced. The day before we moved, our neighbor came by for a visit. We extended him some courtesy until he told us that his girlfriend, she smelt the urine again. I was pretty mad at this stage. I had just cleaned and disinfected the vents, walls, and floors before we would leave. Yet there he sat, matter-of-factly telling me that it smelt like piss. It was early December when we finally left that place. I remember being the very last one out the door and telling whatever was in there not to follow us. When we got to our new home, I was able to get to the Corpus Christi Library and to do another search on that place. What I was able to find, it sent shivers down my body. The first known tenant of the apartment was a well-known drug dealer who lived with his girlfriend there. According to old police reports, she'd been murdered in a fit of uncontrollable rage by him, and he was never found. The tenant that rented it afterward, but before us, was a heavy drug user and had kept approximately 10 dogs with her at the apartment. She'd neglected the dogs, and some were buried in the back patio grass area, and some were found inside the air conditioning vents, being victims of some sort of satanic ritual. I know that many people, they might find this story hard to believe, but I swear, the whole thing, it's true, and it still sends shivers down my spine. G'day mates, it's B-Buster here. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. And you know, anyone who believes in ghosts is just so gullible. Get it? Gullible? No, but seriously guys, I do get a lot of people saying they don't believe in ghosts and that these stories they find hard to believe and stuff like that. Look, whether or not you believe in them or not, I hope you still enjoy the stories, guys, because personally, I still find them really interesting to read. So yeah, I hope you still enjoyed the stories, guys. Thanks again to the Hive member that bravely shared his story for us all here, and I hope you're doing well, mate. For the chance to have your story feature in a video, you can send your story to my email, which is in the description below. And as always, keep them coming, guys, as this channel relies upon your stories to continue. Also, please do me a favor and just state in your email what your story is about in the description, and also provide me with a short written statement of consent just so that I can be above board with everything. Also, please remember to tell me in the email if you would like to remain anonymous, and please change any names if you don't want particular names to be shared. As always guys, it would be awesome if you could like, share, comment, and subscribe if you're new. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates throughout the week. You can also catch me on my second channel, all of which have links in the description below. Thanks again for always tuning in, for all the love and support, and I'll see you mates in the next one.